Well, g'day curd nerds and welcome to the great Cypriot cheese fry-off. Yes, Cypriot cheese, better known as, well, it starts with a H. I am using two fantastic milks from Made by Cow today in my cheese making. I'm going to do a cheese off or a fry off, I suppose. That's the final result for Made by Cow's Jersey milk and Made by Cow's Frisian milk. Here's Gavin to explain a little bit about the differences of the milk. So thanks to our sponsors, Made by Cow, I've got two lovely cold pressed raw milks here. I've got the Jersey milk in the black top and I've got Frisian or Holstein milk in the blue top. Now there is a difference between the two. So let me quote some stats at you. The Jersey milk has 3.9% protein and it has 5.1 grams of fat. So it's high in fat, high in protein. The Frisian milk has 3.3% protein and 3.9% fat. So two good all-round milks. The Jersey milk obviously has higher fat and higher protein in the black cap. And the Frisian milk in the blue cap has less protein, less fat. So I kind of expect that the yield will be higher on this Cypriot frying cheese made with this milk than with the Frisian milk. So before you start, don't forget to sanitize your equipment. I'm just putting all my stainless steel utensils into some boiling water for 15 minutes. So we're all set up, as you can see, with all the gear. We've got I'm going to use 4.5 litres of milk for each batch. We've got 2 spoons, 2 cups, 2 thermometers, 2 sets of spoons, and basically everything. So I've got the pots all set up. So pot in a pot, normal method I use, a little bit of water in the bottom, probably about half full of hot water, and that just keeps the heat in the milk. So this will be really interesting. They're on the same size burner, the pots are exactly the same size. I'm not going to compare how fast it takes to heat up each milk and all that sort of stuff, but we'll see how we go from there. So the ingredients for this cheese are 4.5 litres or 4.7 quarts of whole cow's milk, 1 milliliter of single strength rennet, so IMCU 200 or 280, around there, diluted in a quarter of a cup of non-chlorinated water, 1 milliliter of calcium chloride if using heat treated milk. Now I didn't use any calcium chloride in this recipe due to the milk not being heat treated. You need some fine salt, non-iodized, and some fresh mint leaves if you've got them, preferably washed. So I've got the Frisian milk on the left-hand side and the Jersey milk on the right-hand side. So I'm measuring out the only ingredient really for this cheese other than the milk, and that's the rennet. So I'm using the 1 milliliters of rennet, doing each cup because I'm doing 2 batches at the same time to test this milk, and we're putting that into a quarter of a cup of non-chlorinated water. You can see there I've got the water there and just diluting the rennet. So a quarter of a cup is also 60 milliliters. So first off the bat, the first difference that I've noticed is that the Jersey milk, which is this one here on the right hand side, is a lot yellower. The colour is more distinct, more ivory colour, and the Frisian milk is a lot whiter in colour. Now it's not an optical illusion, it's very hard to see on camera, but definitely it is the case. So this will make a yellower cheese without any annatto, and the Frisian one will make a slightly whiter cheese. So once you've got your milk in your pot, basically clip on your thermometers so you can tell what the temperature is as you begin to heat it up. So I'm just using dairy thermometers there. They go from 0 to 100 Celsius. And I've got them in both scales, so I can use books that don't have Celsius in them either, so they have Fahrenheit and Celsius. So we're going to heat the milk up to 32 degrees Celsius or 91.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Just turning the heat on there. So using the spoons to just give it a quick stir as we heat it up. And that batch there, which is the Jersey milk on the right, is at the right temperature. So I'm just turning the heat off there and pulling it off my little steamer. So it's just a tad over, but that'll settle down. That's fine. So the Frisian milk is at the correct temperature as well. Just pull that off its steamer. Now milk holds its temperature very well. So we're going to pull the thermometers out now. And we're going to add in the rennet. So stir that for no more than 1 minute, or you'll disrupt the coagulation process. So I'm doing the same with the second batch. So pop the lids on, and we're going to wait now for 40 minutes to allow the milk to set. So the milk is now coagulating. I put the rennet in and we're waiting for 40 minutes. So hopefully they'll both set the same or very similar. So now we're going to check for a clean break, and I do that by putting my knife in and then give it a quick twist and pull it up, and you can see a nice clean split there. So the Jersey milk, a really good clean break, a very firm curd set on that one. And we're going to check the Frisian milk now. And it's a good curd set, certainly not as strong as the Jersey one, but a clean break nonetheless. So I'm going to cut the curds into 1.25 centimetre or half-inch cubes. So I just did the horizontals with the curd harp, and now I'm using my curd knife to do the vertical cuts. So do that on one and then on the other. If you're only making a single batch, obviously you only have to do one. So I'm going to cover those up and let the curds heal for 5 minutes. So 5 minutes later, now we're going to have to reheat the milk back up again to a higher temperature. So I'm just putting them back onto my steamers. Just gently balancing them there. And turning the heat back on again. We're going to slowly heat the curds to 41 degrees Celsius or 105.8 Fahrenheit. Now you can see there's a fair bit of whey there on top of the Jersey milk, and very similar to the Frisian milk. Both about the same clarity. So I'm going to start stirring the cubes now for the 20 minutes whilst we're heating. So when I stirred the Jersey milk, there was a lot more resistance. The curd set was a lot firmer than what the Frisian milk was. Both very good curd sets, so don't get me wrong, I had no preference over the other. It's just that it felt different to stir. So I'm going to stir for 20 minutes whilst we're doing that heating up to 41 Celsius. So I better pop a thermometer on so I don't exceed the temperature. And just continually stirring, doing a nice double-handed method there. So you can see that the curd size is quite nice. It's about the size of, what a baked bean I would think. Both the Jersey and the Frisian milk, the curd size was roughly the same. I didn't have any issues with any premature shrinkage or anything like that. But yeah, the curd size was very good for both milks. So once the 20 minutes is up, just take out the spoons. We're going to cover both pots and we're going to allow the curds to settle for 10 minutes. So 10 minutes later, we go to the sink area where we've got 2 butter muslin lined colanders, and I've got the first one sitting on a pot. I want to retain the whey. So just pour through the curds and keep the whey for later on. Now I knew I would only get about 2.5 litres of whey out of each batch, so I decided to put them both, the whey from both batches, into the single stainless steel pot. So we're going to allow the curds to drain for 5 minutes. So 5 minutes later, now you can skip this step if you are not weighing the curds. So I'm just taking the bag that has drained at the same time, popping it in a pot that I've already tared on a scale. And this is the Frisian curds, and it weighs in at 1.253 kilograms or 2.76 pounds. So I popped the curds back into the colander again, and we're going to weigh the Jersey milk and see if the fat and protein content makes any difference to the yields of curds we have. So make sure there's no excessive moisture or anything like that, and pop it on the scale. And the verdict is that the Jersey curds have a 1.522 kilograms or 3.36 pounds. So a significantly higher yield than the Frisian milk. So we're going to place the curds in the butter muslin that we drained the curds through onto a board, and we're making into a kind of a pancake size, and put a second board on top and apply 1.5 or kilograms or 3.3 pounds of weight. So I'm doing that with both of the slabs of curd. So board on top and pop the weight on top. It's not a very heavy pressing, it's just to flatten it into a pancake. And we press for 10 minutes initially. So after the 10 minutes, we are going to take the weights off, and we're going to turn the curd slabs in their cheesecloth and apply 1.5 kilos or 3.3 pounds of weight for 20 minutes. So 20 minutes later, we're going to remove the boards, and we're going to remove the slab from the cloth. So be gentle. It should have formed a pancake and not split or anything like that at this stage after your 30 minutes of pressing. The Jersey milk slab was a little bit less closely knit, if that makes sense. So cut the slabs into quarters, and this will be your 4 pieces of Cypriot frying cheese. As you can see there, the curd structure on the Frisian is a little bit tighter than what the Jersey milk is on the left. But the colour difference is stark, as you can see. So meanwhile, that whey we retained, we are going to heat that to 90 degrees Celsius or 194 Fahrenheit. So I'm just skimming off what it is. It looks like flotsam there. It's not flotsam, but it's just bubbles or froth on the top. Just skimming that off. And we'll tip that down the sink. Okay, so we're going to place the curds into the hot whey. And this first lot is the Frisian milk. You can see it's a lot whiter than what the Jersey milk slabs are. So pop them into the hot whey. You will notice that they sink to the bottom. So the timer's running and the last piece floated to the top at about 18 minutes and 10 seconds. And we've got to wait till all 4 slabs float to the top. And I was just checking, make sure it was floating correctly. This means that the halloumi is now partially cooked. And we now continue to cook the Cypriot frying cheese for another 15 minutes. Okay, so they're all cooked now, all the slabs. And we pull them out one by one. And we salt each side with 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So there's the first side. There's 1/4 teaspoon. Just shake that over the top and then give it a little bit of a rub. Or not. Turn it over and put another 1/4 teaspoon of salt on the slab. Now alternatively, you can have a tray of salt and then flip the cheese or coat the cheese in the salt, doing it that way. Now we're going to place the mint leaf in the center of the cheese and then just flip it over, fold it in half. And it's pretty hot still. It's just come out of 90 degrees Celsius whey, so I'm using the back of a skimming spoon to just press them down until they kind of like meld together. So repeat the process for all the other pieces. Just salt both sides, get some mint leaves, fold it over and press it down. So this batch is the Frisian milk, and it folded over without splitting along the seam there. Mind you, the pieces were a lot thinner than what the pieces are that I made with the Jersey milk. So that's all 4 pieces done there, and I'll put them to the side. And now we're going to do the curd slabs made with the Jersey milk. So pop them in. And with the timer going, this time it took, it was a lot quicker for the curd slabs to float to the top. This time it took about 11 minutes 40 seconds for all the slabs to float. So it took 6 minutes less for the Jersey curds to all float to the top. Now, so leave them in there for another 15 minutes before you pull them out, so they are properly cooked. And this prevents the cheese from actually melting when you fry it. That's the purpose of the cooking. So salt both sides again with this batch. Give a little bit of a rub, then flip her over. Then grab your trusty mint leaves. Side by side and give a fold over. Now if you think the curds are too hot, then it's probably best to use some thick latex gloves, kitchen gloves, to stop your hands from burning. So this batch is the Jersey, and 2 of the pieces split during the folding, only because they were actually thicker than what the Frisian curd slabs were. So just repeat with all the pieces of curd. There we go, all done. Beautiful. So you can notice that the Jersey milk on the left-hand side has a deeper colour to the cheese than what the Frisian does. So this is due to the higher fat content. Now the final weight for the Jersey milk was 674 grams or 1.49 pounds, which is a good weight for Cypriot frying cheese. So you can see the final weight of the Frisian milk, which is 505 grams or 1.1 pound. It's significantly less, so it's 169 grams less than the Jersey milk. That's because it's got less fat and less protein. So now comes the important part. How do they fry up? Seeing this is Cypriot frying cheese. So a little bit of olive oil in 2 pans. We're going to cut the cheese into 1.5 centimetre or 0.6 inch slices. Just one little piece. I'm doing a few pieces. We're going to fry in olive oil until each side is golden brown. So it takes a little while. I've just got it on a medium heat. Now notice they are not melting, which is a good thing, because that's what we want. We don't want them to melt. So on the left we've got the Jersey Cypriot frying cheese, and on the right we've got the Frisian Cypriot frying cheese. Both have a nice golden brown colour on one side for the same amount of time, so that looks good. And just speed it up a little bit there, and the colour on the other side is perfect as well. So I'm going to turn the heat off for both of those and put them on separate plates so I don't get confused when I do the taste test. Make a little bit more room, that's lovely. There we go. And plate up the second batch. So we always serve Cypriot frying cheese hot. So doesn't it look lovely? You can see that the Jersey milk is yellower, deeper yellow in colour than the Frisian, but it still looks lovely. So, it's tasting time. I'm very excited. First of all, let's try the Cypriot frying cheese with the milk that is the Holstein, a Frisian cow. So I just fried this up. Very nice. A little bit of a squeak when you're chewing it. Certainly nice and creamy, rich. Salt is just right, and the fried flavour tastes great. And the mint, you can just taste the mint in the middle. I only use like 2 leaves per square, well, piece. Let me just try some more. Very nice indeed. So let's try the one with the Jersey milk, and this is higher in fat content, higher in protein. Made it exactly the same way. Still squeaky. The salt's just right, and you can taste that mint. This one's a little bit creamier, which would go to say because it was a higher yield and higher fat content as well. But both fry up lovely. Very nice. So thanks again to the sponsors of this video, Made by Cow. Without it, this wouldn't be possible. And it was a great opportunity for me to try out their new cold pressed milk, which is the Frisian version with the blue lid. Same single pasture milk, same as the Frisian one, single herd, sorry, not single pasture. Yeah, absolutely lovely milk, easy to work with, no calcium chloride required, and just a little bit of rennet, and it just works perfectly. So this one's a little bit cheaper. I'll put the price up here, and the Jersey one is just a little bit more expensive. Now they come in 1.5 litre bottles, so don't get mixed up when you're measuring how much milk you're going to use. So in this make I used 4.5 litres or 4.5 quarts of the milk for each batch of Cypriot frying cheese. Well, I hope you enjoyed this cheese off. If you want to see more of this, then please leave a comment and let me know whether you liked it or not. I'm really game on trying these sorts of things where we compare milk and that sort of thing. It's really good fun, and I had a great day of cheese making. Well, I hope you have a great day of cheese making when you try Cypriot frying cheese. Thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. Don't forget you can also support the show over at Patreon or become a YouTube member. You can hit the join button down below. Well, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I will see you next time.